And my cookdown was saying, Kayam, and what that means is leave it be, don't touch it, let it be. Not like the Beatles, let it be, but leave it be. She said that the squirrel would make us sick if we touched it. But she said that the earth, like when the earth will take the squirrel, when it decomposes, and it will heal it, and the earth will take the sickness away. So when my cookum died, like she was sick before she died, and now that she's died, she's part of the earth, and the earth takes care of her. And so yeah, so it's really important to me to live my life like that. Be like if something is bothering me or something bad, like I won't touch it. I will just continue on and kind of.
Very nice. Now that relationship you have with nature and humanity and living and life, is that something that you value?
Absolutely, it's fundamental in our culture, and that connection between nature and Creator and us.
Right. It's fundamental.
Yeah, and that's just a really great way of looking at transitions, right? So, us as human beings in this moment, in our grief, we're really just transitioning, right? We're transcending, right? So this isn't the end, right? On our journey.
Reminded me a lot about my daughter too. She was actually your age when she passed. And she had a lot of tattoos. Not a lot. Some were without my knowing before she turned 18. But they really grow on you. And I think the fact that you're willing to get that and it has a strong meaning I think that's.
What kind of tattoo does she have?
The first one she got was on her foot down here, and it was an anchor, and just represented how much she loved being by the water. She had done like her lifeguard courses and stuff, so she was trained and stuff like that. She loved going swimming, so it just reminded her that she always loved swimming. And then she actually had some stuff on her back too. Young hip things. I don't really know. Over my days, you know, I were used to the tribal tattoos and stuff, but hers were love poems and quotes. She was always about, you know, caring for others, and which is why that reminds me a lot of them, because it shows that you care and it's something you value. So I think it's good. I guess I'll go next too while I'm at it. So like I said, I am an English teacher and a gym teacher, so I'm not very artistic. So when we thought we were doing this, I made a few tries to get it right, but as you can see, it's the sun. That is lovely in the sky. Yeah. So I actually, for what I had in my house, I had about 4 highlighters, and I had that orange and blue one to do it. So I drew this because since Kim passed, which was in June, so technically in the summer, it was really nice out, and ever since that day, I felt like I hadn't seen the sun. I felt like it was something that I just kind of forgot about. And now I've started to realize that the sun is still shining. I mean, obviously it's November now, so it's not as nice as this, but I think recognizing the sun and that happiness it brings is why I did it.
I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. So when he first passed away, I was really scared because I was alone. We've been dating forever, it feels like, and then we just decided to be crazy kids and get married at 19. So we get married, and it was, we were married for several years, and then he passed away, and it just seemed like my best friend was gone. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to raise kids. And I didn't know when we were together, and now I'm terrified. But this just reminds me that I don't have to be worried about that stuff, that there's people in my life that can support me and that will help me through it. And also just, I really think it's interesting that it says I do not give to you as the world gives, because what the world says about being a widow and things like that, like that's where my fear comes from, is that I don't want society to shape how me and my kids live our lives, and I don't want to be seen as, a single mom, because I'm not doing it alone. I have people in my life that are helping me. I wrote it on a different card, and I've just been leaving it on my bathroom mirror that I read every morning. Been reading it to Madison because she's been having a hard time at school. She's just been getting really scared. She needs that peace too, even though she's alone.
Yeah, it sounds as though you get permission to grieve from that, right? It's kind of that message. Do not be afraid. Good. Carol?
Well, I brought some flowers, actually. I got crushed a little bit. So these are lily of the valley. And when Olivia and I were growing up, I mentioned that we were neighbors since we were little. Our houses were side by side, and we had lily of the valley growing in both of our yards. And we were pretty crazy about it for a while. Probably like each time, maybe we went through a girly kind of phase, and we would pick this and we made like heads out of it, like bracelets. We put them in our hair, on our clothes. We tried to do potpourri. We made that for our moms. Yeah, it just reminds me of her. So we had this at Olivia's funeral, and I've been keeping it in my house, just around the house. It brings the place up since she passed away. And I'm actually hoping to be able to bring this to her gravesite someday. We're both from New Brunswick, so her gravesite is there, and I haven't got to see it yet. So we're actually planning on doing a family trip back to New Brunswick, so I'll get a chance to put some lily of the valley there.
Beautiful flower.
And it's a garden lily.
Yeah.
So it's really great to see how everyone has really individual ways of keeping loved ones close to them. Right? So something as simple as a few words versus flowers really touches us. Right? It's a great way of keeping our loved ones close to us and everyday part of our lives.
Very true. So for today's session, we do have a topic of discussion, and maybe Natalia, could you share with us what it is?
Yeah, so as we were talking about transitions and transcendence in our lives, especially specifically in this period, we're actually here to address secondary feelings and secondary losses today. So what that really pertains to is things that maybe you didn't initially really think of, right? So recently, Lindsay, you just kind of tuned into that, the world is now going to see you as a single mom, right? And that itself has its So now it's really kind of time to take a step back and gain a larger perspective and really identify and acknowledge these secondary losses and emotions and what they mean to us and how we can proceed, continue forward. So, does anyone want to acknowledge any secondary losses that maybe they're just aware of?
So I guess my secondary loss would mean that I'm essentially no longer a father. I mean, I think if I say it that way, it's not, I'll always be a father, but now I don't know, I guess maybe now I'm not so much. I had never really thought of it that way. When Kim, when she passed, my wife had a really hard time, and I felt like my role was more to be there for my wife than it was for me. I just tried to make sure everything was okay with her. And on top of that, I had to go to work to support her and myself. And once my wife managed to get a little bit better with her coping and grieving, it was me that realized I hadn't done enough for myself. And I think it's really taken a toll on it now. And now that I think about it as not being a father anymore, it's really hard to think about.
And how the world sees you now as you no longer
Yeah.
have child.
There's a lot of disorientation in the process of change. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because if someone asks, I guess not, I don't want to be like, oh, well, I am a father, but then I have to share my story all the time.
Right.
I don't know, I think that's kind of tough to do time after time, right?
So you're the father of a deceased child.
Well, when my parents passed, I was orphaned. So, I know it was a long time ago, but I've always had an identity. And when I can reflect back to that time, the stress that occurred, extremely difficult to lose who you are, Then I was a young child and I was a son. But when you lose your parents, you really don't know who you are anymore. And that changed my worth, and it was really difficult. So it's taken me years to rebuild that, but who I am now is not who I was.
So the world identifies you as an orphan.
Right. That's right. That's how I felt, It's a difficult spot to be in, but
I'm worried about my
Their dad's not, they're not going to help you. And like you were just saying, you felt like you had to help your wife through it. And like for the longest time, I felt like I just needed to support my kids because daddy was gone. And they seemed a lot stronger than I am at times. And just how they explain it to people. And they know that he's not coming back. And they're just so innocent about it. Just a couple months after John passed away, I went to a wedding and I was sitting there listening to the vows, and then the pastor said, "Till death do you part," and I was like, "Oh, I'm not a wife anymore." So that's when I took my ring off my finger, and that's just really simple to me that I'm not a wife anymore, but I could be again. But that I feel like that is my biggest loss. Like I said earlier, like society gives a single mom that connotation, and I'm young, and
what it used to, and it's a weird thing to grasp. Like I've been going through it for the past several months, and I still can't understand it.
In marriage, you take two people and try to make one. So I can imagine taking that one and going back to two, or sorry, a different one. It's very difficult.
It makes me think about Olivia's husband, Harry. Now he's a single dad, and it's just hard to feel bad for their family. And I'm having different feelings about this. Like the world can't see that my role has changed. I'm still mom. I'm still a wife, but it's like I'm taking on this new role because now Olivia's children have no mom, and I'm like the closest thing, I guess, for them. And it's hard. It's like I have two new children now. I can't imagine doing it without support. I've got a husband and they've still got a dad, so I can't imagine how you do that. It's hard enough for me that they're not even my own children. I guess it's like I'm taking on your role.
I agree. I mean, now that Kim's gone, I mean, my wife is the only, like, she's the love of my life, and that's, I can't even imagine what it'd be like to her, you know. My wife lost her sister when she was younger, so she had dealt with loss before. And that's not an excuse to say that it was easier for her. But I feel like she was able to grieve better. Maybe she had a better understanding of what it was like. But I have to say that I can't even imagine what you're going through losing your loved one, your partner.
But we know it must be difficult.
Yeah, the extent of grief can vary, right, to each individual. Several factors play into that, right? So the untimeliness of death, right, that's going to definitely affect you where, you know, it's a sudden, unexpected death compared to perhaps maybe the death that was imminent that you knew was coming, right? And again, the nature and the quality of the lost relationship, right? So, loving husband, daughter, best friend, right? But the thing to keep in mind is your social support, right? Your support system, right? Who's there for you right now? Who's helping you through this journey? Right? You've already mentioned your support. Mary?
Well, I guess I feel kind of bad because your husband was young, your friend was young, and your daughter was young. Was 75. I know some of my friends, and even sometimes my boyfriend will be like, well, she was old. Your grandparents are old, and they died, and they were sick. She was sick for a long time. So I don't know, I guess, I don't know, I think some people like you're telling me that I need to get over it because I knew that we all knew she was going to die. But people don't understand, like she raised me, right? And she was such an amazing woman. And like now that she's gone. Like, I live in her house, I'm trying to pay off some financial burdens, and it's going to take me probably at least 5 years to even make a dent. And, I don't know.
So there's the loss of a relationship, and there's a loss of a bunch of other things. Come with it. It's the price we pay for loving people.
Like, I can't go to school right now. I can't afford to, right? I have to stay at home. And I want to, like, I have in high school who said education, 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 because so many people in our community don't finish high school. They don't go on to college. I know she really wanted, like, always said, go to college, go to college, go to college. But now I'm just trying to focus on my younger brother to finish. I know sometimes he doesn't want to, but I make him. So.
So all of these are your secondary losses. And we don't see this initially, then we're in grief. And now you would enter back on.
Does everybody feel that we lived it? Just a little bit? It's nice to hear other people's story and know that we're not alone.
I like hearing other people's stories, but I don't necessarily.
It might take some time. Are we going to see you next week?
Well, yeah.
So it's also it's important to also remember that why we're here in this group, right? I know this is very painful, having to explain, to tell our stories, right? To go to peel back the layers and really start looking at our hurt and our pain. But it's the connecting with others, right? Finding support with each other, right?
So important.
It's normalizing these experiences, these feelings, right? These feelings are normal. It's okay to feel these feelings, right? I know sometimes that can be a bit difficult because people that are surrounded, that are our surroundings, they know that we're grieving, that we lost, but kind of as time goes by, it's kind of like that fades, right? It's kind of like, oh, life goes on. We should get on with it, right? So I know they mean well, right? And then they're there to support us and to help us, but they're not the ones that are experiencing that grief with you, right? And that's why we have this group, right?
Thank you for that reflection and wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
So next week, hope you can all join us again. It's a lovely time. For homework, now, just thinking that there's probably something you guys can do for yourselves. Some coping strategies, something new, something that you're not used to doing. Some ideas might be a journal entry, a walk in the park, a trip to the SPCA, flying a kite.
I liked Tom's idea. I think all my friends have seen that. We were talking about that earlier. So I think I'm gonna do that.
Pretty ridiculous movie to get your mind off things.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, 2-hour exercise, and tell us what you did next week with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you all next week.